Hello my friends, I'm Dakiyan. I'm welcoming you to an introductory video for my new video series for the summer called Getting the Lead Out. This is my big summer project for 2016, and hopefully it'll be done by the time the summer is over. Otherwise it'll extend into the autumn. But what is it, you wonder? Why am I showing you some plastic bags on a table? Well, I'll unpack them, I'll spread out the contents on the table, but I'll do that off camera, and be right back. Ta-da! Behold, the bounty of my basement. I found these bags inside a big box, underneath some other boxes, and I wondered what was in them. And lo and behold, it's a lot of miniatures. A lot of really old miniatures. These are all from the days of yore when miniatures for gaming had high lead content. So now you start to realize what the pun in the name of the project is, right? Okay, I'm gonna get the lead out by getting all these out of storage and painting all of this stuff up. Maybe. I became a bit hesitant when I saw how much was in this bag here. But, well, let's cut to some close-ups and show you why there's sort of three piles here. And I'll go through them one by one. Now the first pile here is, this is organized mostly by company. The first pile is Grenadier Minis, and you will, if you're old school from the back in the day, you will recognize some of this packaging. The Fantasy Lords series and the Fantasy Personalities series. But what are these green things? Well, if you're not Swedish, you might not recognize the logo of Drakar och Demoner. This is the first sort of Swedish language role-playing game published. It was really big in the 80s and early 90s, and it was so big that they licensed the rights to miniatures from Grenadier, well, via Prince August, I believe, and packaged them and sold them under their own label. If you are Swedish, you might be aware that there was some debate on a role-playing forum a while back about people trying to remember what company these Drakar och Demoner labeled miniatures were actually from. And I can tell you by looking at what's stamped underneath them, it says Grenadier on most of them. And you can tell because, well, a lot of these are very typical Julie Guthrie sculpts, and she did a lot of work for Grenadier back in the day. Actually, a lot of her sculpts appear in both Grenadier and the Ral Partha ranges. I'm not sure what was going on there, if they had some sort of agreement between them, between the companies, or whether she was able to license her sculpts out to both of them. Not sure. If anybody knows what that was about, you can comment below. Anyway, moving on. Next pile, Ral Partha stuff. Now, some of these are in the basic Ral Partha packaging with this blue background. Some of them, I'm not sure why they're called Ral Partha imports. I don't know where they're imported from, but I guess maybe they're some other branding. Anyway, I also have quite a lot with the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons logo on them, as well as Ral Partha. Now these are slightly later. These, I believe, are late 80s, early 90s, and you can tell from the artwork that it's from the era, I believe, of 2nd edition AD&D. Alright, you see here, copyright 1988. Now these are actually the start of the evolution to what's called white metal. These have a lesser lead content, perhaps even lead-free, I'm not sure. No, it says, the warning, this product contains lead on the back part. But I have, in the past, like opened up a couple of blisters of these and painted them, and the feel of the metal is different. It's not as soft as the older stuff from early 80s. So there's been a change in the formula. But you can tell that these sculpts are from the 80s, maybe not from these, but from at least some of them. They have very much an 80s style to them, especially the hair. Big hair, really big hair. So yeah. And the overwhelming majority of everything in these piles is like player characters. There's a few things like this unicorn rider, which is kind of a monster, I suppose. And from the Grenadier stuff, I had this guy on a raft. So there's a few things that are a little bit different. Anyway, third and final pile is Gloranthan stuff. Now most of this is by Ralph Partha because they had the RuneQuest license. The longest, I believe. Let's see when these are from. These are from 1985. So they had the license from Avalon Hill. This is from 3rd edition. But the sculpts are actually older. They were released even before then. So some of this packaging is the basic Ralph Partha packaging. And some is the RuneQuest branded. For example, this package here contains mostly the same brews. Well, not the same, but similar brews to these. There's no year on the back of these, but, well, trust me when I say they definitely brew. Now, what's this big gray mass? Well, these are minis from the same range. Why are they just in a Ziploc baggie? Well, because I bought them from a gaming store that I found at a convention somewhere. And they were getting rid of all their miniatures, and they had just, to save space, I suppose, they had just taken everything out of the blisters and poured them into a few big boxes, and you had to rummage through the boxes and pick out the stuff you wanted. So I actually went through one of their boxes and picked out everything that was a RuneQuest mini, and I bought them for dirt cheap. Now, these, I have no idea about the state of these. I assume a lot of them are going to be damaged, and they will at the very least require a lot of cleaning to get into paintable state, and I have no idea how many there are. So this is the big question mark regarding whether I can finish this project during the summer or not. And finally, the very last portion of these miniatures this is real old school. These are not even RuneQuest miniatures, these are White Bear and Red Moon miniatures from Archive Miniatures. They had the license from the Chaosium back in the 70s. So these are from, I think these are actually sculpted before the role-playing game RuneQuest came out. They are based on the board game, which came before, which was originally known as White Bear and Red Moon. Later, the name was changed to Dragon Pass. And these are some of the gods and heroes that appear in that board game. For example, this is Beatpot Aelrin. This is, I forget what, some sort of wind deity. This is a frost goddess. This here, I believe, is Herrick. Yes, this is Herrick the Berserk and Gunda the Guilty. I think this is Inara, the goddess of winter mountaintops. And these are Not sure. Could be the Star Twins. Anyway, I'll try to do some research and see if we can find out. These will probably be saved for last because, you know, these are antiques. I don't know if I should even try to paint them up. But anyway, I intend to work my way through these minis, and I will do so. I'll start from the left. I'll start with the Grenadier minis, and then work my way through the Ral Partha generics, and finally I'll save the Granthans for the end. And I considered how to go about it, and whether to add more bases to them, but they all have integral bases. I think I'll just go with these because other old minis that I've painted up I have not rebased. And it looks weird because these are all the old 25mm scale. If you put them on a plastic 25mm base, it looks outsized for them. And to get through them quickly, I am going to be painting them using fewer layers and faster techniques than I would normally do for a modern so-called 28mm miniature. And the reason I can do this in good conscience is that because they are smaller, you can't really put as many highlights and layers on them. There's no point. It's not going to show up. It's such a small scale. I can paint them more simply and they will, you know, fewer layers, more contrast, and it will be visible more on the tabletop. That is the plan, and I hope to be able to make one video per day and actually get through a handful of minis every day. So the idea is, well, hopefully the format will be that I will show you a few finished minis, a few that I've prepped, and a few that are in line to be prepped in each video, and these videos will be relatively short. So what do you think? Does this seem like a fun project? Am I getting in over my head? Will I reach my goal? Who knows? It is certainly a challenge, and I will take it on to the best of my ability, and we'll see how far I get. But for now, all I can say is, I'm Dakiyan. I hope to see you, well, I won't see you, but I hope that you will watch this series of videos and get some enjoyment out of it. For now, I'm signing off.